my friends. Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm not saying good morning from sunny San Diego because it's anything but sunny in San Diego today. It's English weather today. It's drizzly. It's grey. In fact, the sky looks very pale grey, almost white. So there we are. It's wintry. I have my nice, thick, soupy coffee with me today. Actually, I need that to fortify myself because today is a big, big subject, a heavy subject. So, money. But you know what? I'm going to show you how to find money that you didn't even know you had. And that is an amazing thing. And then I'm going to offer you the opportunity of making tons more. Yes, really. Okay, so just in case you're new here, I am Andrea Kuchin. You notice it's green today because that's money. You can phone me or text me at 858-252-1190, 858-252-1190. And you can email me at andrea@phdandfollowup.com for more background information on who I am, what I do, and how I got to be here. You can go to phdandfollowup.com/Andrea Kuchin. That's an overview of everything. There's a lot. I've been in business a long time. So, you acquire more knowledge and information and tools and whatnot as you progress. You can join the conversation in our Facebook group, which is where I'm live now, although I'm also in LinkedIn and YouTube. It's PhD and follow-up, more loyal customers and referrals for busy business owners. Now, of course, we're all busy. And we all know that follow-up is really important. And that's why the company is called PhD and follow-up. But this is my home biz tips, as you can see. And it's all about all sorts of things to do with running your business. And today, it's about money, because I figured out that the best way to get more money is to organize the money you have. That sounds nuts. Okay, let's look at it from the basics. Time management, or time, I can't think of the other word they use, time management, organization, whatever it is a huge productivity subject. Massive. There are loads of people teaching how to do it. I've taught tips how to do it myself, things that I've learned over the years that work. It's a big deal. Why? Well, because when you manage your time better, you can get more done in the time you have available. So the reality is you're not organizing time, because obviously you can't organize time. Time moves at the same rate for everybody on the entire planet. So the idea of organizing time and getting more time and having less time is kind of silly. Doesn't make sense. What it's about is organizing what you're doing within the time frame that you have available to do it. In other words, if you have an 8-hour working day, you've got stuff to do. How do you get all that done as efficiently as you can so that you potentially have more time to do other things, is what time management is all about. It's actually organizing your stuff rather than organizing your time in reality, actually. That's how it works. If you have a different theory on that, please let me know, because I'm always learning more, wanting to find out more, how other people do things, I want to improve myself. But that's my understanding, and that works. It's very effective. When you find ways of organizing the stuff you've got on your plate, you actually do find that you can get more done. What changed? Not the amount of time you have. No, because everyone's got 24 hours a day. In fact, How often do you hear people say, oh, I don't know how that person gets that much done in, in a normal working day? Well, that person's got the same 24 hours as you have in a 24-hour period. But you've noticed that when you're really enjoying yourself, time seems to go really fast. When you're waiting in the dentist waiting room, time seems to go incredibly slowly. So it does seem, but that's just an apparency. The idea is, once you have a certain amount of control over a situation, once you are at cause of it, you cannot be the effect of something, right? You know about cause and effect, right? Everything has a cause and everything has an effect, ultimately. Things are caused by something. There is a reason. There is something started it happening, right? So you might think that time is just running away with you, right? But once you start to control it, once you say, okay, I'm going to take charge of this and I'm going to write myself a to-do list or whatever it is that you're doing to organize yourself, you will find that you get control. You become cause over time, which means you can't be the effect of time going and you didn't get anything done and you go, oh, time ran away with me. Because obviously time doesn't run away with you. It just feels like it because you're not in control. So you want to be in control. Now, this is good control. This isn't dominatrix stuff or weird, I know I'm a control freak, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being at cause over something in order that you are not effect of it. Because when you are the effect of something, it has control over you, right? You don't want that. You don't want your time to control you. You want to control your time. Right, that was an incredibly long introduction, but I'm sure you're all with me on this. The same applies to money. You can control your money and not be effect of your money. So being effect of your money, in other words, being the result of mismanagement of money, in other words, your money controlling you, means that you have too much month left at the end of the money, right? In other words, it's not where it needs to be when it needs to be. You go into your bank account to pay XYZ bill and there's nothing left. Or, you have an emergency, you need a new set of tires on your car or something, and you've got no money, so you go to your credit card and lo and behold, that's full as well. That's because you're not in control. You need to be in control. So the way that you are in control is that as soon as your money comes in, it doesn't matter the amount. I was going to say how much, but some of you were going to say, but it isn't. It's how little. Yes, it doesn't matter the amount that comes in. It's a good habit to start. And you'd be surprised at the difference it makes, even when you first start, right? You divide it up. You divide the money that comes up into different groups. Now, ultimately, that could be 5, 6, 7 different categories, if you like, or groups. Categories is a better word. Could be 7 of them. And there are teachers who say you need a bank account for each different category. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a bank account. It could be a PayPal account, or it could be, I don't know, it could be anything. It could be you stick it in Venmo or do something else with it. It doesn't necessarily mean you've got to go to the bank and pay money to have an account opened. There are ways around it. And there's no point in starting at 7 or 6 or 5 or 4. It's too much. Let's start with 3, right? So as soon as any money comes in, you divide it into 3. Now, the level at which you divide it into 3 will depend a little bit on how much there is in relation to how much you need, right? But if you're a freelancer and you get checks or you get payments, Venmo probably, you get payments sent to you sporadically, the same applies. If you've got both, the same applies. In fact, if you get some money for your birthday or for Christmas, really and truly, the same applies, right? You divide it into 3. And I've been doing this with my daughter since she was little. We had literally had 3 different jars. And we had the ones with the screw top lids where you put the coins in and it'll count how much money is in there. It's got a battery in the lid, obviously, and there's a little number. And as you put your pennies, well, it doesn't seem to like the pennies very much. They're a bit small. But as you put your coins in, it actually counts how much money is in there. That's great. We had 3 of those. So what is it? How do you divide it up? Well, you work out how much money you need to survive every month. And when I say survive, I mean survive, right? This doesn't include trips to the cinema, movies. This doesn't include buying a new pair of trainers. This is just survival. It is your household expenses, which would include your mobile phone and your internet, and your car payments, and that's it. Food and gas, potentially. To start off with, you could put food and gas. The reason I'm not sure about those is because that depends. You can control how much you spend there, whereas your phone bill, you probably can't control, and nothing else, it changes. So ideally, you're going to start with the household expenses that don't change. And then, because we're only doing 3, you can add the others that do change a little bit, because they won't change that much. You won't go from $40 one month to $400 the next month, I don't think. Right. So that's one category, right? Then, ideally, 30% of it should be put aside for taxes. Yep, 30% of it should be put aside for taxes. And then you're left with something in the middle, which should be put aside for something else, like that time that your tires suddenly, you need new tires and you don't have the money, right? That's what that is there for. Or you've decided you do want to go out to the cinema tonight, and that's where the money would come from. Or you do need a new pair of trainers. That's where the money would come from. Because it's living expenses, kind of, but it's additional. It's things that aren't essential, right? Now, start with 3. 30% to taxes. The rest of it for future money, right? Future money, in other words, things that you might need in the future. And it's not going to be 30% potentially, whatever it is, the other bit. So 30% for taxes for sure. The rest of it you divide up, 30 would be ideal, but I think a lot of people probably aren't learning that much more than they're spending at the moment. The idea is to get those numbers up. So whatever it is that you need to survive, and if your income is tight, be brutal with this, right? Do you really need those cable channels? Do you really need whatever it is? There may be some things that you can do without to cut those expenses down if necessary, because your future money you really should have. You really should be able to put something away. Now, some people will say, even at this stage, that 10% has to go for tithing, which could be your church or charitable organizations of some kind. It should, yes, but that can be introduced later if necessary. Again, it depends a little bit on your budget. But if your budget is tight, let's start with 3. And then we can introduce more. We can introduce the 10% to the tithing, right? We can separate some of the household expenses into things that are absolutely essential and don't change, like your mortgage and your health insurance and your car insurance, and things that do change, like the amount of gas that you spend. Or there was something else earlier on. Oh, how much you spend on food every month. That can fluctuate, right? And then we can divide things up into what are business expenses, and then you can figure out how much you can get back on your business expenses. And we'll introduce all those things later on, so that eventually you've got your at least 7 different categories that you could arguably put into different bank accounts. Because the point is, when you organize like that and you separate the money, you can't accidentally or inadvertently spend money that you were saving for something else, because it's not there, right? If you decide to spend it, you are then making a conscious decision to do so. You've got to move it from one place to another, and you know that has to be replaced at some point. If you take money out of what you're going to have to pay for your taxes, you know that's got to go back in there so that you can then pay your taxes when it's tax time, right? It's logical. It makes sense. Now, if everything goes in one pot and you're potentially sharing that pot with a spouse, that is a recipe for disaster. I'm not saying don't have a joint bank account, but have the joint bank account be one of the others, right? Either that'll be the household expenses account, or that'll be the future money account. It probably makes more sense to have it as the household expenses account, because that way you've both got access to it and you can both make sure that all the bills get paid. Or, if something happens to the person who's in control, the other person can still have access. And then you can have your separate bank accounts potentially for your future money, for the money that doesn't have to get spent on expenses, but could be spent on something else. And then a joint account again, especially if you're filing your taxes jointly, for your tax account, and a joint account for your 10% account if you've got that. So the way that it works is, because you don't have access to the money, you don't spend it. And you're going to say to me now, I can't survive on that little money. Fine. Okay. Try it. Try it for a month. Try it for 2 months. You'll find it's surprising how you can actually function with much less money. Right? And I think you should learn to function with much less money, because we waste an astounding amount of money, and you might not realize how much you're wasting. I am obsessive about regulating these things and controlling these things in my own life. But I've made these mistakes, not when I was on my own, when I had complete control over everything, but once I became a wife and there was a joint account and then there was a child, that changed everything. And when I finally took control of everything again, I was appalled at how much money was being wasted. I didn't realize. I honestly didn't realize. And I've seen it in other people, and I suspect it might be with some of you too, which is why I'm talking about this, because I know it is very controversial and slightly challenging to talk about this sort of thing. But I can help you. First of all, I can sit down and help you work out where your money should go. I've done this with other people, and it's almost like magic. And I'll sit and talk to you. I'll do a brainstorming session with you for free, just to help you out. And this is really, really important, because the next step, a lot of people will tell you, the next step is to build up some savings and use that money, that additional money that you've now found, to pay off your bills. That makes complete sense, and it is responsible. but it's not the best solution in my view. Not now. It might have been 10, it definitely was 10 years ago, but it isn't anymore because there are so many opportunities for you to earn more money on your money than you need to spend. In other words, you can, if you're putting this money away for your taxes, you could be putting it somewhere where it can earn you a good amount of money. And then when it's tax time, you can take it back out, having made a lot of money on it in the meantime. And the same applies to your bills. If you invest some money, which enables you to earn, I don't know, $300, $500 a month, you can use that to pay your credit card bills. And they will eventually get paid down because you'll be able to pay more towards them and pay them down instead of just pay the monthly amount and keep accruing. And then at the end of that period, you've still got the initial amount of money, still making money for you. Now, some of you are going to say, well, that's great, but I don't have any money to invest, especially if I'm now supposed to be putting money aside for the tax people and putting more money aside for, future stuff. And that doesn't leave me enough to do my daily things. I get it. But we're not talking about thousands of dollars here. We're talking about 100 or 300. Even where we are talking about big numbers, it's 2,000. Still not big numbers. Now, 10 years ago, you needed 10 or 20,000 to start. Now, $100, and you can be earning money on that every week. That's something that you should look at. And then talk to me about it. Call or text me 858-252-1190 or email me at Andrea@PhD in follow-up, because when you organize the money you have, you'll be surprised at how much there is. It organizes itself, and some of it grows and some of it sits there. And then when you need it, it's there. Because a lot of us are in the position, or have been in the position, and a lot of you are in the position right now, where if you needed money right now, you can't get it. And that's horrendous. And that puts a massive stress on running a business, because the business has to make money or you're not going to survive. And that puts stress on you. So ideally, you want to be able to have the viewpoint in your business that you're doing it for fun, that you're doing it because it's what you love, that whether you make money or not, you're still going to do it. You have to be relaxed about it because your expenses are covered with something else. That's the ideal scene. That's where I'd like to get you, or I'd like to help you get to. And I will do everything in my power. And I've got lots of brilliant ideas up my sleeve to help you do that. So reach out and let me help you make some money this year. Let 2023 actually be the year that you break free of your financial situations, issues. We've all been very squashed over the last 2 or 3 years. Let's get rid of that, break away from it, and have a spectacularly successful year this year. I feel, and I've spoken to other people about this, and they kind of get it as well. So I sort of feel that the energy on the planet is shifting a little bit. Things are changing a little bit, Opportunities are now emerging where there hadn't been any for a while. So let's grab those, right? Let's organize our money so that there's more, and then work with that little bit of spare, even if it's only $100, and make something glorious out of it. Okay, my friends, that's it. This was me, Andrea Kuchin, at My Home Biz Tips, provided to you by PhD in Follow-Up. You know where to reach me. And I will be here again next Tuesday. I wonder whether it'll be raining or sunny next Tuesday. I hope wherever you are, if it's not sunny outside, it's sunny in your hearts. And I look forward to seeing you again here next week. Take care, my friends. Bye-bye.